what you find valuable is what that's supposed to be and is the most important thing. The problem with coins is it's Twitter now. So you're now unfortunately paying attention to what everybody else is doing instead of just doing what's going to make you happiest.
Yes.
There are people that have Silver Eagles 67 holders and it's their favorite coin. And who's to tell that person that it's anything less than their favorite coin? Right. Now, diving into the main topic, which is designations on slabs with engraving. Right?
Yes. Okay. Yes. I need to know.
Well, what is it? What was the thing that brought this up?
So what brought it up was a 67 plus. A question really from one of the folks that watches my show a lot. And they were basically saying like, is plus like a half grade?
And what was your response?
Honestly, I couldn't remember.
Okay.
And I thought of star.
That's what, yeah. So that's what you called me about.
Yeah. And I said, I know stars I thought were eye appeal. Mm-hmm. But pluses might be half grades, but I don't really know. Like, I don't know if they're the same thing or not. And that's why I had to call you.
And then the best thing is that like stars are NGC only. They're the only grading service that has a specialties designation on their holder for now. And, but no, they really are. But
okay. What
you're not seeing is a lot of NGC pluses out, because otherwise you would have noticed.
No. And well, actually, you know what, now I'm glad you said that, because the thing that actually brought it up was somebody in one of my shows said, I'm seeing a lot of ICG pluses out there. And what does the plus mean? And so they're probably thinking they're seeing a lot of ICG pluses because they don't see NGC pluses out there. And honestly, I don't recall seeing a ton of PCGS pluses either.
There you go. That's the key thing right there.
Okay.
And that's what I was getting to. So back when I was at NGC, it was always the most fun, the holy grail, we would call it, but it was just sort of, it was just like 67 plus star. Like when you'd have everything. No, it's like the whole thing. And the best was like 67 plus star decam.
Yes.
Star.
Would decam come first before the star and the plus?
That's a really good question. It's been over 12 years now.
Because I would always see like PR 69 decal.
They existed. And that was always pushed on me. Like, hey, don't forget to remember pluses. Like, especially on the bulk side of stuff. Like a lot of stuff when people submit things in bulk, like Morgan Dollars min 62 and up. I think it's hard because a lot of people aren't really, like, the truth is they're not really thinking plus. That seems to be more of a, as we call it, online thing, which is when we're typing the grades in and adding all the different suffixes or designations there. And it's sort of, they're laid out there in the screen for you. So you're thinking about it more. But even then, it's become so precious because of the spread some of these coins have. Whereas I view the plus as in anything that I'm doing, whether it's modern, whether it's vintage, whether it's, and there's some stuff that it's inappropriate on. Like if it's a Lincoln set in 4 that's like kind of carbon spotted up and all that, even if it's like flirting with 65, it's just not appropriate. The plus with eye appeal does come into play though. If there's a really pretty Morgan and I really want it to be nicer than it is, and it's just on the upper end of that grade, and it has pretty color or like a super dimple obverse, and then the reverse is just nothing, just flat, so it can't even PL, then yeah, I will use the plus in that way because I don't have a star. BCGS doesn't have a star. The hardest thing with the plus is sort of knowing when and where to use it, and that takes time.
Okay.
But it is frustrating for collectors when they're seeing stuff, because if you get like a CAC sticker on one of those, it really does bring all of that extra half grade money. It really can. So when you're sending stuff in for bulk and a coin's like shot 6 in a 5 holder and there's no plus to it, you kind of are like, do I crack it out and send it again because it might be worth it, or do I try? And that's where people are like, this is my PQ stack. Here's my PQ stuff. And they won't even budge on it, but there's no inclination that it is PQ other than taking some dealer's word for it.
Right. And when you say PQ, you mean premium quality?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So when that, like, and you'll see a ton of dealers do that, and a lot of dealers love to think all of their coins are premium quality no matter what. So that's where people are like, we're seeing a lot of pluses. Well, ICG wasn't exactly great at the grading standards in general before I got there weren't like up to snuff. It just wasn't market friendly or accurate all the way through.
Right.
And that was me coming in and writing the ship and getting everybody on the same page, which took all of a couple of weeks. I mean, it really wasn't that hard. But pluses really are something, and even color designation, which we'll get into, and cameo threshold versus decameo threshold, all of that stuff is where is the line and how do we find it? And it really is just seeing tons and tons and tons of examples.
Okay.
And when ICG is only getting 300 coins, 400 coins a day in and out of the building, there's not a whole lot of volume to be able to compare and contrast what's nicer versus not.
Right.
Whereas now it's tens of thousands in and out
Okay.
all the time. So they have.
So you have a larger sample
You
population.
have a larger sample size, and my graders there are now going, oh, and you're like, there you go. And even things like the difference between red and red brown, or brown and red brown, like where is that threshold, and what are the simple intricacies of those things? So in the designation fields, which we're going to get into, and I'll be curious to see which one you kind of gravitate towards first outside of pluses. You have plus, cameo, deep cameo, full bands on Roosevelt's, which is full torch at NGC. You have, so I said cameo, deep cameo, full bands, full torch.
So if we just take a step back,
Sure.
Plus cameo, deep cameo, those apply to any coin or can apply to any coin.
Cameo, deep cameo only can apply to proofs.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those can only apply to proofs.
Okay.
There was
Plus can apply to any coin. Okay.
Any series of any kind. Plus
Okay.
is a grade within the Sheldon scale as far as we're concerned. So
Okay.
people are like, oh, there's 70 grades. There's
139 or 40. Yeah, you do the math better than I. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
There is now a 69 plus though. Only
Okay.
FCG. For until.
Only for Marteen stacking the 69. Never mind. Anyways, so
Only in your dreams.
that's right. That's right.
But then there's designations to each series, right? Like Washington quarters don't have any special designations. They have variety attributions, but there's no real designation, whereas the Standing Liberty is full head.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different ways to find out what the true definition of full head is.
Right.
Because that's the weakest part of the coin. That is, the head strike is the weakest area, which is why it gets that, because there's enough of it. And people try, have you ever heard somebody talk about on buffaloes the full horn? Well, if it's got a full horn on the back, it's this, it's that. Mm-hmm. They tried that for a little while, but it doesn't work. It's too hit or miss. There's no real.
Right.
Because you can have a full horn sometimes all the way down into VF, and what are you going to call all of that stuff too? So there's those, there's full bell lines on Franklin's,
And is that where those designations for the type coins come from? The weaknesses usually?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The areas that are more commonly weak. So you can say, hey, I've got 265 Franklins. Like Franklin's, I know the full bell line pretty well. And God, I've had a lot of arguments over what's a full bell line. Why is this a full bell line? Why is this not a full bell line?
We have those arguments in the grading.
Okay.
At every service I've been to.
Okay.
And like what you ultimately end up doing is going, here's the generic threshold. Like here's the version everybody's going to agree on. Mm-hmm. And then here's the version not everybody agrees on. The gray area, unfortunately, is the largest portion of that.
Right.
For every grading service, it's the bottom two lines. And they're the old adage of when, like, you know, when I'm teaching people or at a show and people ask, I always go to the simplest definition of it, which is, can you row a boat down the middle of the river and not have anything impede, right?
Okay.
So if you have a little nick or ding or scratch in the middle of it, that's impeding. Now, there's some people who are like, well, if it's towards the outer edge or if it's light enough and you can still flash it and see through there, mm-hmm. That's more the line that I like to be on because it is there. Now, full on like read mark going through, absolutely not.
Right.
And we all can agree on that. But the gray area on those is pretty gray. Full bands on Mercury dimes, not gray at all. And especially that one's probably one of the more important ones, but because of one date, that's the 45p.
Okay.
45p graded 2 in my entire career. Full bands, I want to say.
Okay.
So, and those are in full bands, I think.
What is full bands on a Merc dime?
Oh, the 2 center bands on the on the torch there. So the back of the torch, the 2 center bands.
Okay, because that's what wears first.
That's what struck the worst. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what struck the worst on that coin.
So those, the full head on, the full head on Standing Liberty quarters, the bell lines on the Franklins, and people used to like to do all of the lines. Like, so there's a series above. So
yes.
And then the bottom 2 bands. I don't know, and I won't even try and remember who, but there was a service where they all had to be that way.
Well, I kind of lean towards that myself because, I mean, logic would have it if it's the strike, right? So if the strike was good enough to get the last ones, it should have been good enough to get the upper lines. They're never a problem. But so I would rather see all of them be full bell line, because to me it's PQ, right? I learned that term earlier. I want all my lines to be full bell line, but it doesn't matter. You have a loop. That's what the loop is for, right? You don't always have to.
If you start looping that stuff though, like the full head, you have to.
Right.
And the bands on Mercury dimes, because now people are lasering them.
Right.
And so that's an issue that actually gets sent out like counterfeits do.
Right.
So when people laser that strip in there, you can see it's just too fine. When you loop it, it shines underneath. Well,
and when I say you can always loop it, I mean, as a collector, you can always take the slab coin, look at it under a loop, and if you don't like what you see in the top lines, then don't buy it. Move on to something else.
As a grading service, you have to make a decision.
Right.
So if you have 52S, 53S, 54S Franklins, then that means you're never going to have full bell lines. Period.
Right.
Because they're so weakly struck and mushy, but those bottom 2 lines are the strongest on every single date, and they can exist on every single date. So you make a decision. Really, it might be a business decision, might be a collector decision. I like to think of it as a decision made for the collector of, hey, you collect full bell lines, you're going to be able to get your completed set.
Right.
Because otherwise there is no completed set.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, I want to digress for just a second. Even though it's not designation related, just something came to mind because we're talking a lot about Franklin's. There was a numismatist. I cannot recall the gentleman's name. I was reading about it in one of the Coin Week magazines where they said, this person says there will never be a proof 70 Franklin. There never will be a proof 70 Franklin. I'm not sure if that's a common thing or if this was just one person's opinion, but the article seemed to imply that we'll never see a proof 70 Franklin, but didn't really get into why. So I'm just curious if you've ever heard that.
Anything to do with the bell lines. It has to do more with the only Kennedys. Well, I guess there are 64 Kennedy 70s out there. There's a couple of them. I almost made 2 of them.
Really?
Yeah. So we one thing that we'll get into is the fact that I've at ICG introduced 69 plus, and I know we're getting a little off topic, which is perfectly fine in this sort of thing,
as we always do.
Yeah, but I introduced 69 plus, and at first you kind of get nervous about doing something new, especially it's not rocking the boat, because both NGC and PCGS, I hope and feel as though they will follow suit because of the spreads amongst the two. But I'd be curious to pull up the price guide and see what approved 64 Kennedy and 70 is. But basically, let me circle back. The guy's right. There probably is a 1963 Franklin out there somewhere that could be a 70.
Mm-hmm.
Where that is and the threshold. The problem is how the coin is just struck and how flowy it is, and how in the middle of the face, even on the most perfect 69, you sort of get this color variation with how it's struck because of the cheekbone structure and just how the design of it is.
Okay.
And it does just lend itself to spotting. I mean, those things come jet black when they're nice. So it's just any imperfection is going to just hit you across the head. Yeah.
That is true. They're very sheen, when
they print, the edge isn't as thick, and when your fingers, you naturally have some skin overlay that lends itself to fingerprints. I mean, that's something we've been talking about in the office a lot with my production staff, to the point where, when you're doing that stuff, they're wearing gloves. They just have to. I know you don't see me wearing gloves. I know this looks like not a two-way street here, but I know how to handle this. And also I'm not popping them into, gaskets and stuff. So it is that I am that precious about things like that, even though, you can find proof Franklins in 69 all day long for whatever it is, $20 in certain dates and years. But yeah, 70 would be something really, really special. It's just probably never going to happen.
Fair enough.
But the best you could, but 69 plus now, you're going to sit there and tell me, now maybe on Franklin's it might be a little bit tougher, but you got to build that market. But on Kennedy's, a 64 Kennedy and 69 plus, well, 70s exist. And there's a price point for what those sold for. And the spread between 9 and 70 is massive. Massive. So you're telling me that, I mean, I couldn't find anything on one of these. Like, I couldn't find anything. And I was so close, and I was showing it around the office and letting people take a look at it. Do you see anything? And unfortunately, somebody found a little tiny tick in the reverse star areas, and there it was. And then I couldn't, but it was the perfect coin for that. But there's a price point to 70. So I know the guy that I'm going to send it off to is going to be really stoked to see the third ever 69 plus I've ever done. So that's kind of part of it, but that's why the designation of plus is A, important, and B, you kind of have to make sure you're remembering that it's part of the grading system, but also you have to be a little bit semi-precious about it. The other, when I was at PC for a while, was I a little bit lazy with it? Yeah. Like, was I thinking about it constantly? No. But when a coin was nice and really hits you, or you really show it around, like, hey, could you see like 7 on this? No, it's got this. I think it's 6 plus. I'm like, yeah, I can see a plus. And you just walk back to your desk and done. But in my screen when I was building out the ICG screen, it was really having it front and center for you to see that it's an option there. So it's actually a check box that you go, that's right. It's the very next box next to the grade. So you've got the grade there, and the very next box you can click is plus.
Okay.
So I want my graders to remember that that's an option.
Okay.
But what I don't want it to do is make them too tight and lean on the plus as opposed to trying the next grade up.
Right.
So there's those. And I'm trying to think I think the biggest thing that people get confused about is red, brown. Like, where those come into play.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an interesting point. Red, brown, brown. Red does not confuse me. Okay. Red, brown does. Why do you need, I have thought about that a lot with Ink & Sense, because you already have 70 points you could go through. Yeah. And I know it's an attribute, and I know, but like, it's either red or it's brown. I don't know. Red, brown. Who invented that? I don't know about it. It's a big hang up, because I don't understand why you need 3. Why can't you just have red, really? Because like, when you have something that's like nice, like something that's okay. So the quick version is, if it's mostly red, it's red. If it's mostly brown, it's brown. If the upper side is completely browned over, like it was in some sort of casing where the front was exposed and the reverse was protected somehow, which happens often, it's brown. If it's flipped the other way, if the reverse is completely browned over, but the obverse is red, call it red brown, whatever the money side is. But when you talk about red brown, when you have, especially on Indian Sense, those are all for the most part red and brown. And you really want to designate those. You want to give it something. You don't want to just call those brown, because you certainly can't call them red, especially when 70% of the coin is brown. Sure, you may think logically in your head, you're like, well, then just call it brown. Whatever the more percentage is, just call it that, right? Is sort of how you're thinking of it. Well, honestly, you make a fair point. I've really only ever thought about it in regards to Ink & Sense.
Oh, okay.
So I don't grade a lot of Indian head cents. I don't even collect Indian head cents.
Well, yeah. Think about 2-cent pieces, especially because those come pretty damn red. Like,
okay.
I grade a lot of the majority anything in mint state for the most part, as far as like what people send in. Now, what the actual percentages are, I don't know. But as far as what people send in, it's a lot of mostly red and brown stuff. Okay, but so maybe not 2-cent pieces, but if I'm thinking about Indian head cents and large cents, you already said it. They're kind of brown anyways. So would you'd never get a red on any of those? Oh yeah, you get tons of reds. But they're not red. Oh yeah, they are. Large cents, I've created tons of them red. Okay, but Indian head cents? Oh, I did. Yeah, tons. Yeah. Were they really red? Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to go look at. I don't collect those coins. I really don't. Are like red. Like when I think of the color red, I think of Indian head cents. Okay. Like those come really, really nice. Okay. When they're nice, they're nice. And I know that's a really like cop-out thing to say, but when they are nice, they're very, very nice. But way to go, coin grader. Yeah, I know, right? But like you have to give it something, and to call just something red or brown. What I don't like is like every grading service has its oddities, and we'll get into this with PL and dimples and all that. But everybody has their oddity stuff that they like to get cute with it. So like when I get to ICG, I'm kind of scrolling through, kind of cleaning up the grading screen and cleaning up some of the designations, and I'm seeing like, what is BR? And somebody turned around and go, oh, that's brown and red. And I go, excuse me? It's like, oh, it's when it's mostly brown, but there's like a red halo around it. Well, we're going to delete that and never, ever, ever use that again. Because you're right, there's 3, that's plenty. There's already enough.
I would say 1 or 2 is plenty, but that's fine. You know what? You can have the third. Right. I kind of get that now with red brown when you explain that half red, half brown, you know, or it's a tweener.
It's a tweener.
All right.
That's a great way to put it. It's like, all right, this is a coin in 64, 65, or 66. You kind of, once it gets in those upper echelon grades, but it's mostly brown, you kind of want to give it more. You really want to, the nicer the coin, the more you don't necessarily want to give it, but the more you want the collector to understand what they have in hand.
Right.
And also, don't crack it out of this. If you have an Indian head cent that's like a 5 red and brown, that's it for that coin. There's no, what's like one question you get all the time on your platform, and every time I'm on there, people are like, how do I clean up my coins to look nicer? Don't.
Right.
Stop touching the shit.
Right.
Especially when it comes to copper. Do not touch it. That's a peeve.
Should we wait till the next segment for that one?
But let's go to PLs and dimples.
Yes. Here's another. Maybe I'm bringing up another peeve. I understand what proof-like means, but I only ever see it on certain coins. I feel like I don't see PLs. I've seen it on some Canadian silver dollars, ironically. I've seen it on Morgans. You've seen it on Eagles recently. I send you I did some silver Eagles. So this is a great, you've seen it on gold. Gold, you must have seen it on probably, yeah.
So up until, let's call it, 2018, only large gold, as in $20 gold pieces or Morgan dollars. And there's been some special case scenarios where I have made in the past, in my short time dealing, like when I was a coin dealer, I did make, it was a 26, was it a 26S or 26P piece dollar? I made a piece dollar on PL, which was unheard of. And the coin was, I think we sold it for like 80 grand or something like that. It was something crazy like that. But back in 2019, when I started back at PCGS again, on and off, I was doing 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off, and I had been out there for a couple weeks. This is one of my first kind of trips back out there. And then the next trip I'd come out, I had another grader buddy of mine come up to me and say, hey, don't forget about your PLs and dimples. I go, yeah, like obviously, why would I forget that? Like, oh no, but like, see this, it was a Mercury dime. He goes, oh, well, that Mercury dime went out 6 PL, and I just didn't know if you knew we were doing that. And my eyes got big. I go, finally. Let's rewind a bit to 2015. Austin made a huge stink at PCGS. Like,
so now you're taking credit for this, for the PLs on Merc PLs. Fair enough.
I made it. This was about a Jefferson nickel.
Okay.
This was, I mean, as dimple as the day is long. This thing was, I thought it was proof. I thought it was like an SP of some sort.
Right.
And I was showing it around, and yeah. And then I was like, whoa. So it's nothing like that. It's not like a branchment. It's nothing crazy like that. So, but we have to call it PL at least. And the answer I got was not right now. Not right now. And I remember hating that answer. And I've heard that answer a lot in my time.
I think that's a horrible answer for the coin industry. There's far too many not right nows.
There's a lot
when it comes to coin collecting. Can we just fucking get with the times a little bit, you know? And
do they exist? Yes or no? They do. And so when the door opened for that, now they're still very precious about it. Like they're still like, they're not pulling triggers where they need to. And it's like obvious stuff. It's like steel cents, 43 steels. Those kind of come PL-ish.
They're like the DeLorean of Lincoln cents. Like they're
a badass coin that nobody appreciates.
That's right.
It can be cool, but cool to the right part. But they come so striated and all that. But striations is where we'll get to. PLs and dimples. So basically everything now has the consideration to be PL or dimple as long as it's mint state and above.
And I think that's correct, because I'll tell you, you know, I do a lot of like juice lots, carded coins on Whatnot. I go through a lot of them, just kind of slinging them there. And every once in a while I'll come across one and I'll say, that's a proof quarter, a proof state quarter. I'll go, oh wait, no, that's a Philly, you know? And I'm like, that is a damn nice looking. It looks like it fooled me for like a couple of seconds.
A quick flash.
Yeah. And I see nickels, I see dimes, I see every denomination. There are coins that I come across where I think they're, now a lot of them are more modern, but still,
but they exist.
Yes, they absolutely exist.
And if they're, now there's an argument to be said where it's like, if like a state quarter comes out and they're all that way, you're not going to call each and every single one of them PL. It's like, okay, that's how this particular was made. Because especially these state quarters can have that satiny sort of, not even reflective, but it's that surface that just hits you,
right?
Because they're just spanking new. But you should be able to do anything. And like when I came over to ICG, I asked, I was like, hey, in the past, like, fill me in. Like, what have you guys been doing? Like, oh, we do some here and there if it made sense, which I like better than not right now. But there was a sit down. I sat down with the graders that we had, and I just made it very clear. I said, look, if it's PL, we're calling it PL. End of story. The threshold for that is going to be a little gray for a little bit. We're going to have some conversations here and there, which we have had. But for the most part, we find ourselves on the same page. When you find yourself on the same page, which is ultimately a opinion-based, at the end of the day, career path I've chosen, there's something there when everybody's sort of on the same line. Is this PL to you? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. And it's like, what do you think? Yeah, I mean... And it's like, not really, it fades here, I don't catch it there. And like, if you were to walk into a grading room, you'd see this a lot. Let's pretend this is a coin, you'd see this. And they're bringing it back and pulling it back. And that's all they're doing is checking to see if they can see the reflection of their finger from a certain distance.
Okay.
That was the old threshold with Morgan dollars.
Okay.
Can I see my fingernail from, I think it was 6 inches away.
Okay.
And then if it was like 8 to 10, it was dimple.
Okay.
Now it's just, we know what a dimple looks like. We know what a PL looks like.
Right.
But there's even variations amongst that. The biggest complaint I've got from, especially like your Whatnot crowd, is I send in my 81S or my 80S or my 79S, and you hear there's the through line there. It's the S-mints.
Right.
They have these heavy striations, which is raised metal on the reverse that on a tilt, it almost looks like cleaning lines, like aggressive cleaning lines. It's really cool, but it's just how the coin was struck. And so it can be the most dimple, holy shit coin ever. But on the turn, so as soon as you tilt it, it disappears because these striation lines now take away from it. But the coin is what it is. But at NGC and at PCGS, they will not call those even PL. Because as soon as it disappears, they're like, well, on the turn, on the tilt, you get those striation lines that take away. But for me, it's like, well, it's there. When I look at it just dead on, is it or is it not? Will I call it dimple? No. Will I call it PL? Yeah, sure. But that's where the whole opinion-based thing is a little bit, that's where it's tough. And that's where not everybody is super pleased when they get their coins back and don't necessarily like the answer they've been given on PLs and dimples especially. I think that's probably, out of everything we've talked about, probably the biggest quote unquote hot button issue, because it's the one thing that people like, they'll go out and seek PLs and dimples to get that extra bang for their buck when they slab it and all that stuff. They'll buy them raw, hoping to get that designation. But it doesn't always work. And sometimes it just doesn't, maybe it has too much color on it. Maybe it's just not reflective enough, but it's reflective somewhat. So there's just a lot of room for interpretation within a set bound.
Yeah. And I think that's the interesting thing about a lot of designations. I think there's a lot of cameos, deep cameos. I've always thought actually those are pretty easy for even me, a non-grader, to understand. Yeah, no, that's a cameo, or hey, this is borderline, or oh, I can see cameo obverse but not reverse, right? Exactly. But PL.
But it's literally on cameo. It's literally black and white.
Right.
It's literally laid out for you, black and white. The definition's there. And as you start getting away from your more modern pieces, you get into your what I call super moderns, which is your Franklins, your Kennedys, all that. one side for whatever reason is as deep cameos you've ever seen, and then there's just nothing on the back.
Right. Oh, it kills me when I have a tube.
But NGC will call those star.
Right.
They will star designate those because it is something special out of the norm than normal. And that's what that is.
Right.
So that's the difference between plus and star really is. The star is, wow, this just stands out amongst the rest. And so when you are going through things like Proof Franklin's in a huge lot of 500 with a minimum grade 7, you're like, oh, here's your 7s, 8s, here's your cameos, here's your deep cameos. And then you've got this one outlier that's like, well, I want to do something for this coin. Now, maybe I'll plus it on my end because hopefully maybe it's higher end and it makes sense on this coin because it is a little more special. But NGC, I like that they have a star because they can go, well, this stands out amongst the rest.
Right.
In this order, anybody looking at these 500 coins are going to know why this one has a star. And
right.
That's kind of also fairly... I mean, that gets a little gray, but in that respect, it's pretty cut and dry.
Well, it's cut and dry. If you're holding a bunch of 69s up and one of us, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So to sum it up, PCGS, ICG have plus. Plus is...
So does NGC.
Oh, I didn't think NGC had plus.
No,
I'm glad we're... Okay. So PCGS, ICG, NGC all have plus. Right. That is a tweener grade.
Tweener grade. Upper end for the grade.
Okay. And okay, so it's an upper end for the grade. Okay. And then NGC has star. Mm-hmm. ICG does not. No. PCGS does not. No. So NGC is the only one that has a star, which is more of an eye appeal.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so as I think you alluded to this earlier, you could have Proof 69 Deep Cam plus star.
Yes, you can.
If you're only at NGC. But that's strictly an eye appeal. And I think now that you say that, I remember we talked about this on the first time you were on my show. ICG doesn't have that designation, and you said, "Hey, can anyone think of?" We had a bunch of people suggesting, right? So,
and that's why we still don't have one because nothing quite makes sense, and you also have to decide whether you want to even open that can of worms, which I do want to open it. It's just because I want to do something, and even though I could walk in tomorrow to ICG and say, hey, this is what we're doing, and everyone will do that, but I also have to pull back and make sure it makes sense.
But do you really need a star when you have red, brown, red, when you have full bands, when you have full bell lines, when you have all these other deep cameo,
specific to the coin,
right? But every coin has one. Is there any coin that doesn't have something? I wonder.
Yeah. Like Washington quarters, they got nothing. They've only got varieties. You're gonna get Type C reverse.
So maybe give them stars,
Well, then then you're even making it even more like, well, wait, right. Do we do? It's like the PL thing. It's like, all right, so we'll PL 20s and Morgans and sometimes Peace dollars or no? Oh, and then okay, well, we'll do these, but we won't do it. To me, I'm very much living all around things.
Okay.
Because I need to be able to explain, and I hope this doesn't come across insulting anybody, but I need to be able to explain exactly what I'm doing to the lowest common denominator coin collector.
Right.
The person who's just getting started or really doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, and just have them go, oh, I get that.
Right.
That makes sense to me.
Well, okay.
I will talk about things like rowing the boat.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I'll give you a lot of credit there because full bell line, for example, it took me a while to figure out exactly what fucking line in the bell they were talking. There's a lot of goddamn lines on the bell. And when I first heard full bell line, I thought it was one down the middle where the Liberty Bell cracked,
After you racked your brain a while, what did you do?
I Googled it. But even then, there's a lot of opinions out there. And I did finally find one article that explained it really well because like a couple of things just said, oh, it's a clean strike on the lines on the bell on the bottom lines on the bell. And like one of them had nice pictures and said, look, this is what one looks like. This is what one doesn't,
I'll give credit to NGC. Their article, it's probably their article you saw. Like their article.
It may have been,
stuff, great. And the pictures they have with the red arrows pointing to the area.
Probably was that. Yep.
And they do such a good job at really explaining those key factors. And I would always really utilize the grading services articles because what it is, it's not just a fluff piece to get you to read and go to the website. It really is like, all right, we've gotten this phone call like 800 times. Let's just
Right.
Google it, and there it goes. And then it pops up. And
Yeah.
I'm even trying to beef that up on the ICG side. Now, I point people, like, I'm not going to build Rome twice. Like, if the article exists already, I'm going to go just point. It's a great article, great photos. I don't need to do it if it already exists out there, just to put an ICG logo tag on it. I'm doing that enough in my day-to-day grading life. So I just utilize those things. If you have questions, really dig into the internet, but stick to your heritage, your PCGS, your NGC, like stick to those names that are broad across coins, as opposed to going to imright.com or Reddit, God forbid.
Oh, God forbid Reddit. Yeah.
And I mean, you want to talk about opinions are like assholes.
Yes.
Everybody's got one.
Yes.
It's all
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't ask a coin dealer. I'm going to be honest. Look, I'm kind of a coin dealer now. I have gotten so.
You are when you say that.
I know. I feel dirty.
You just say I'm a coin dealer.
I'm a coin dealer.
You are. There's coins. I'm staring at coins
that I plan on selling later. Yes.
But,
Well, right. And in the time that I've always dealt with coin dealers as a collector, I don't want to say any one of them's wrong. They just all have their opinions. They probably are. What I do agree with on grading services, sure. Do they want me to submit and get grades? Sure, but they're neutral. They're like they're like the Switzerland. Yeah. So when they write an educational article or in numismatic groups, your ANA, whatever. But yeah, I love reading the articles. I've read so many PCGS articles,
Good.
Yeah.
Too. Like that's the thing. It really is, like, as much as I joke, like, all right, get off my back. You've asked me now, proverbial collectors have now asked this 500 times. But really, it is a good indication of, all right, what's next? Like, what do we write about next? What's being asked of us today?
Right.
And that's why I make the decisions I make at ICG is, what questions have I been asking Austin about and having serious... That's the most frustrating thing, is when you're in a room full of your peers, other graders, and they'll go, yep, we all agree, but not right now.
Right.
And it's just like, well, and now I have the opportunity to make not right now.
And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely amazing. And that's one of the things I love about you is, you have a little bit of youth here, and yeah, you're not like, oh no, we can't do that because the Dewey Decimal System says, whatever. Or, so anyways, I know we got to move on to our pet peeves, but again, just a quick summary. I think what we'll do is we'll put a link in the description to an article with all the designations you can think of.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So we'll get that out there for you, but
put in the comments, ask what did we not cover that you're curious?
Right. That's right.
There's stuff that we're not remembering.
Absolutely.
So many things. Like when people are like, oh, how many coins a day do you grade? And I say a couple thousand. But in that couple thousand, it's maybe 2,000 coins.
Right.
Over 3,500 grades in that, because there's pluses, there's PLs, there's color designation, there's bands, there's all these things that it takes me on average. I think somebody did, can't remember what year it was, but we had somebody come in to do an article and take photos over my shoulder of a couple different graders at PCGS, and it was really cool and fun. But I also saw they were clocking something, and they were clocking how much time it took for me to grade one coin and go to the next. From the time I take a coin out of the flip, grade it, enter it, and then go to the next one, it's about 3.5 seconds. But all of those, how many options would I have on a single coin? 140. I make up in seconds. So I'm not necessarily thinking so heavily into it. This is ingrained in me. This is riding a bike.
Right.
So anything that we've forgotten about, please bring up.
Yes, definitely.
This is not a small subject that we can do 3 or 4 episodes on.
Right. Right.
All right. What do we got for coin of the week?
Are we on coin of the week or pet peeves? Oh, we are on coin of the week. You're right. Coin of the okay.
Coin of the week.
Okay.
All right. So what do you?
I got a picture for you. You're going to love this.
Just to tell people real quick, we did another episode, and it will eventually come out in some facet, but we talked about the privy, and I'm sure if you saw the short, I had some strong...
Austin was a dick to me about the Star Privy, and
I
was okay. I was legit. You guys got. There's a YouTube short out there already.
Go find
I'll
it.
put the link here. I will put the link on our YouTube short. I look so happy when I say Star Privy, and the first thing goes, "Oh, I fucking hate that coin."
Did you know they do the star after? It's not all one strike.
That I didn't know.
They do.
What do they solder it on there?
No, they strike the eagle and then they take it over to another punch, and that's why they're coming out so shitty.
Huh.
Because they strike the coin and then they strike the privy.
But the privy is raised.
Exactly.
So how do they get it raised out of?
Relaying information.
That's fair. That's fair. For someone
for
someone who doesn't like the Star Privy, you sure know a lot about it, though. I'm just saying.
So I can hate it.
All right, so I think I got another one. I think I've got another one that's going to piss you off equally. Now my goal before was just I like seeing the new coins that are coming out, but now it's like, can I find a new coin that's going to piss Austin off? So
wait. Is it you? Let me guess. Is it U.S. or world?
U.S.
Okay. Is it a modern piece?
Yes.
Is it new?
Yes.
Has it been released before?
No.
Okay. Is it gold or silver?
Neither. It's clad. You're gonna love it.
Is it limited?
Nope. It's gonna be everywhere. The 2026 United States Mint semi-quincentennial 10-cent piece. There will be no Roosevelt dime in 2026. So that is the U.S. Mint is making semi-quincentennial. So there's going to be a new $50. No Kennedy half. It's going to be Lady Liberty on the $50, which actually does look kind of cool. I'll show you the page, but yeah, no, she's pretty hot. And then I'm assuming they're going to be all like American women like quarters, but it's like,
can the women chill out at this point? I mean, can we swing back already?
Well, but that's the series. You had the presidents, you had the parks.
Oh, now they're on dimes.
Well, yeah, now they're now okay.
Now they want to be on one.
We're
joking.
The U.S. Mint has gotten, like, I think, extraordinarily woke when it comes to.
I gotta say, I hate these semi-quints. Just come up with a new design for a bit. I don't mind that. I like this design. I actually think this looks kind of cool.
Right.
I do. I actually I'm kind of into this, but only if it turns out like this. The problem with this is it's not going to look like this.
Right.
I will bet right now, market, it's the 21st of November in 2024. But this is the thing. They never turn out like this. They always do this really cool, look at what we're going to do in 2 years' time.
Yep.
And they just...
Well, that's the approved design. Here, let me get you another picture of the...
I kind of like that.
The Kennedy half.
It makes me mad for how they're going to do...
So that's the $50. Really, I like the $50.
We have enough of this.
That is true. I thought about that. There's a lot of those.
Statue of Liberty. It looks like a command.
Right.
Dime,
yes.
The dime looks really, really good.
The dime is original.
If anything, it kind of reminds me a little Barbary almost, like very feminine Barber-esque quarter. I do not like that half.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the half, like, they don't spend, like, I'm hoping to see that dime in...
It should be in circulation. Yeah, well, the part that I thought was kind of stupid was that we're making semi-quincentennial coins. And in fact, you could see it on there because it's got the, hold on, let me go back to the other picture. 1776 to 2026, right? So it's like where the U.S. Mint decided we have to reinvent the bicentennial into the now semi-quincentennial. It's like, I feel like I'm watching the Hunger Games and there's a quarter quell where we're just making quarters, and not actually killing anyone.
I really, really like that design.
Okay.
I'm glad it's on a dime. Now, I wouldn't like it if it was on another commemorative ounce of silver, because there is a point where that feels like a waste. We already have so many silver ounce styles you can go buy. Wait, that's not going to be silver, though. That's going to be on the clad piece.
That's the clad piece. Those are, from what I'm reading there, it's going to be 1976 all over again. We have bicentennial designs, redesigns for all the coins.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's a 1 year thing. And then my assumption is 2027, we're going to go back to Roosevelt. But
like,
I don't
okay,
know.
when they did the Washington quarter redesign, it kind of shook me a little bit.
Okay.
Because I didn't read any article stuff about that. Like one day, I think I needed to do laundry in my building in California, and it was $6 every time, and I just get $10 in quarters from the front desk, and I would go and I popped them open and saw this, and it was just kind of jarring. Of like, oh, okay, well that's a quarter now, I guess. It just
Right.
doesn't fit.
It looks like he's got a mullet.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I like that because also, if done properly, if done like that, and they clad and they circulate, but they also do special like silver proof sets and things like that, that might help that collector base. Because we were off camera talking a little bit about how certain things are undervalued, like that 7+ that we were talking about, how it's like, well, this is a $5,000 coin, but why is it selling for X? And I gave you a few examples of why, like, no matter what holder it's in, certain series just won't get the value for it. That could really help some of these smaller series market. Like I've got at my office, you have no idea how many of these the proof set, the soft pack stuff, and people just want me to cut out the $1.50 or just grade the $0.50 out of there and then just leave the rest intact and send it back, because they'll try and sell it as like a
I've never done that.
portion piece. But if I was a dealer, I'd be doing the same thing. I hope that helps that market, because back in 2009, 2010 through 2012, there was a market for like proof, even Roosevelts in 69, as long as they were 63 and as long as they were silver, like true silvers, and the quarters and all that. So I hope that helps a little bit, because I just don't see enough of that stuff anymore. Everybody just, if they send me Roosevelt dimes, it's like min 7, and it out of, let's say they send me 200 Roosevelt dimes, min 67. Number one, you got to be in the good graces of dealers for me to even touch that deal, because it's so low percentage. Out of that 200, I'm maybe going to get like 5, 6 of them. So I hope that we can get some of these minimums down, get more coins out there in holders, because what people don't understand is you may not be buying these at good prices right now, but ultimately what that's going to lead to is, if they're not collectible, they're going to get melted. And then they're not going to.
And then they will be collectible.
And then they will be. And you don't want to. You just let them be collectible now as they are. I understand not wanting 4s. I understand even on some level not wanting 5s. But all of a sudden you move that minimum grade down just from 7 to 6. Now it's 80%. Now it's 70% accurate out. And now I can get more coins in holders and more coins in the hands of collectors. And really just safekeeping at the end of the day.
Right. Well, I think it will help, because they're only going to.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that. I hate the half. I do like the dime, though.
Okay.
I just hope they stick to that design.
I still like the half. I do agree with you. It looks like a commem, but I like the Statue of Liberty picture on stuff. I don't know.
They do the bicentennials. They did the quarter and the half. I wonder why they went with the.
I don't know. And it's, I don't know if they're doing something else for the quarter. I think there are going to be 5 different quarter designs, just like we have now with the American women. So I'm assuming that it's just going to be more American women themed. Yeah, they already have that series.
I like that. I like that they're sort of, I wish they would have done a dime and a dollar. Maybe.
What do you think the Lincoln cent? What if they did the Lincoln cent? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, Lincoln, so, I mean, that's
right.
Just leave it. Like, he is synonymous with the penny. Like, you can't really.
Yeah.
Like, it's Roosevelt. I think if you ask a 10-year-old who's on the dime, I don't know that all of them say Roosevelt.
Honestly, that's why I was a little surprised they were doing the dime, because Roosevelt has been on there for quite some time. Not as long as Lincoln has been on. No, not near as long as Lincoln's been on a cent, but he's still been on the dime. But for I don't know, it's just I thought to myself, that's really weird. I cannot imagine looking at a dime and not seeing Roosevelt. So
yeah, but that's because we kind of know it. But yeah, I see what you mean. But I do like it. I really hope they sit. The mint is just so, look, you might be approved. Like, oh, it's approved. The mint is synonymous for doing cool shit and then diverting at the last minute and being like, actually, this is what it is. That's why the whole privy thing, I was like, well, I don't need to worry about this. They're not actually going to do that.
Okay, so I have one more coin of the week, really quick.
Okay.
Really quick, because I thought this was cool, and I want your opinion on it. I believe I don't know if it's this year. It might be 2025. They're going to make the first silver Royal British Mint sovereign, which I think is really cool because the sovereigns, only come in gold.
If your dogs weren't going to bark, I would stand up and walk.
Oh, I didn't know that was going to be the one to piss you off. Silver sovereign. Well, I think some more people can afford it. I think to get it in the hands of more people.
Better job, afford the gold.
Wow.
Why are you making a silver
Wow.
sovereign?
Wow. I think that's cool. They made a silver crew grand. Why'd they have to make a silver crew grand, after all those years?
I just think the new king wants his face on more shit and get away from
Well, he's not on the sovereign.
Oh, yeah?
He is not on the sovereign. Okay. Yeah. I like King, I shit on King Charles for a long time on those coins because I love Queen Elizabeth and
they fucked him with that.
The big ear on it. Yeah. He looks good on the notes on the
I haven't seen any.
They look I've got some upstairs. I'll show you some later, but yeah, he looks really good on them. We'll put a picture up or something. But
I was really nervous when he, like, just numismatically speaking, I was like, oh, no, what's going to be pumped out to try and get his mug on just everything.
Right.
No, they're doing a good job. Like, all jokes aside, I mean, the problem is, like, certain things need to just stay in their lane. Like, let's
Austin,
see what it is like, but like a gold, like a sovereign's.
Austin, I want to paint a picture for you. Okay. I'm going to use my British accents here. So all the people at the Royal British Mint are together like, all right, mate, oi. They're Australian too. And let's take that sovereign and make it silver this year. And then the head of the mint comes out and goes, that's a great idea. Just not right now. So I'm just saying, like, what if that was a not right now? And they're getting rid of the not right now.
Well, there's two things. The first thing is, like, I don't appreciate using my logic. And two, the gold sovereigns, they're old though. Like that, there's really there's a history behind it.
It is, yes.
But maybe we need to create new. I guess I just maybe I wish there were, because those could be sort of the British quarters of today, where they would be sort of like our Mercury dimes or Stanley. Like that would be really cool to have now in volume, the way we have the gold sovereign.
That's true.
That would be really, really cool.
Right.
Why they actually didn't do that, that's a really good question.
I mean, that's a great point, because if more people here collected the foreign stuff, I think that would be a great coin to submit, and maybe I'll grab a tube and submit it.
I think let's see how they work. 10th-ounce
Britannias. I should send you a couple tubes of those. Like, those are so cool. They make 10th-ounce silver Britannias,
They come in the cool tubes too with the
with the little tiny Britannia. See, I love stuff like that. And so
great.
yes, their packaging is amazing. And so that's why I get excited about something like a silver sovereign, because it's like, okay.
But something like that though, don't make it too cute. Don't get like that's. I worry about people trying to get too cute. When we're making all this new stuff, we're in this realm of, like, even with the Privyet, what I will say is, like, they're paying homage to a piece of history that America doesn't really have. That's a very, like, British, foreign, European history thing that all of a sudden we're just adopting and taking on.
The Star Privy, you mean?
They're just privies in general.
Okay.
Like, just in generally speaking. And look, I'm sure I'm wrong. Go to imright.com and send me an email, and that's fine. But the overarching thing is, like, the U.S. we have mint marks. And other countries as well do, but they have privies, especially like roosters and things like that. But that to me just feels like we're trying to keep up with the Joneses almost.
Right.
A bit. But with some of this new stuff, I like how they're reinventing the wheel a little bit with coins. Just don't like with a tattoo. Have you ever seen somebody get a tattoo in a specific space and try and jam a bunch of shit together and then it just looks like a black blob?
Yes.
Like, don't do that. Like, really do it the right way. So I'll be curious. Let me see what the sovereign looks like.
Right.
And then
I'll have some as soon as they come out. I'm going to get some, and I'll show you. And I do.
I must be losing my touch. I'm a little too swayed today.
Well, no, but I will say I do agree with you a little bit on that Star Privy as well. After I'm just like, when someone gives me something new on a coin, I'm just like, yeah, I want to buy it. But I'll tell you, I've seen something with that.
Your Laserdisc. You had Laserdisc.
Yeah, I had fucking Betamax, baby.
They were getting rid of. This is all whilst they're getting rid of records.
I had a mini disc player. Remember mini? Dude, it was best format. But
that is ultimately, like, to me, that is what, when I see a privy on, like the V75 on the court, I liked that. I thought that was clean.
Yes.
I liked how that, because it was subtle, it was in the right place.
Right.
It was what it was. It almost felt counter-stampy,
Yeah.
like it had been to a cool bank somewhere. Whereas this was just like just jamming shit in the corner. Like
No, I agree. And I will say I've seen some of those go even on Whatnot. Where Whatnot I always consider a buyer's market, like it's a wholesale market for your common collector. I've seen some of those 70s go for $250, $300. And I don't,
they only have 50,000. All of the ones that exist right now are part of that first 50,000. So
right.
The mint, all right, let's stick on this for a second. The mint is playing Coin Dealer. And if anybody at the mint's watching, call me, I'll help. Like, I really will help you. They're playing Coin Dealer because what they did was they allotted 50,000 coins to be made in the immediacy, right? So they go, we're gonna make 400,000 of these privy silver eagles, but 350,000 are gonna be set off to the side until December 4th.
Yes, yeah, because they were on pre-order on AppMex.
So they're taking them, and 350,000 of them are going to be released on December 4th. But as the mint, to cause buzz, hype, and create extra value and make extra money, we're going to take 50,000 and allot all 50,000 to NGC somehow, some way, and some way, shape, or form. I don't know how that's appropriate, really. Like you to just be like, all right, NGC, you get to grade all of these 50,000, and out of the 50, as far as the 70s are concerned, because we're getting a bunch of the stuff that didn't grade 70s, and not for nothing, they were dog shit. They graded like garbage, and it's not NGC's fault whatsoever. The coins were shit. Like they just, whether it was the double stamping, they went through another. There's just a lot happening on that coin. And maybe if they were nicer, maybe if it was just released to the public as one of 50,000 with a COA and a sealed box where you could always, but they got those 50,000. So now everybody's scrambling, trying to buy up the rejects before the others come out, because as of right now, the 21st of November, there are only 50,000 in circulation, quote unquote. As soon as those release on the 4th, whatever didn't grade 70 or whatever's not in my office right now or at PC or at N, whatever those other coins are out there in the market just waiting, those are no longer part of the 50,000 anymore. They just get lumped into the rest.
Okay.
So they played, it's like a marketing ploy. I'm sure it sounded good on paper, but it was just really strange how they did it. And it's not a jealousy thing of like, they should have all come to ICG. I would have taken the deal, sure, but I would have been like, this feels weird.
Right.
Like, how do they have, like, why would they release a coin from the mint and work directly with a grading service? That's not their forte. That's not how they should be thinking.
Right.
They shouldn't even take a grading service into consideration, really.
Right.
Unless there's a partnership with something and the service is like there's ways to go about it, but that felt very like backdoory as far as I'm concerned. But I don't know the ins and outs.
No, and I agree. I think this whole thing, whether it's the part with NGC or just the way they're releasing it, or the fact that a collector can't buy it from the mint, you can only buy it from a mint reseller. Like, it just kind of, I like the coin, but it kind of reeks of like, I don't know why you'd have to do all that.
Well, it's like a new Jordan comes out, but only the Foot Locker at the International Mall in Tampa is allowed to have it.
Right.
And then you can go buy it.
Or it's a Foot Locker exclusive or whatever. Like, you can't even get it dropped from Nike. No. And, and I mean, look, I know people got to make money. I know at the end of the day, everything's a business, but
need to make money.
That's true. They're literally fucking making money every day. Yeah.
Like they can take some off the assembly line.
Right. But
what I do like is, and also I think my biggest pet peeve with it is that like it's on a Silver Eagle, something that's already standard. It's already out there, and they're already going to make 2025s, and they're already going to make 2026. But on that flowing hair, I like the privy. New design, new release, new everything. They're all privy on that. I don't care, because at that point, I don't know why, but to that point, that feels like a commemorative piece.
Right.
Whether it is or designated as not, I don't know. And I don't know even how I designate it personally. But a Silver Eagle is a Silver Eagle.
Right.
Leave that cute shit to the commemoratives and the new design, all that stuff.
Right. Well, that's the thing. But with the flowing hair,
it looks
they
good.
all have the privy.
And they look good.
Yes, they do. They do actually look. I hate to admit it.
They look
You
really
know,
nice.
I used to be the type of person that always buy that new U.S. Mint stuff, and I stopped because I just don't see the value there anymore. But that's one thing. I took my eye off that ball for a while, you know, and I wish I had seen that coming.
So maybe that really is what it boils down to, is like, if you want to do that, do it where it's appropriate.
Right.
And I don't know. I think right now we're in this like, yeah, the Mint's kind of acting like it's like a baseball card service or something.
Yeah, that's what it reeks of. Yes.
Yeah, it's like
Yes, they're trying to be vault box, you know, and yeah.
it's like you're not supposed to be. If you want to appeal to the collector, that's when the commems and the special issues and all that, and somebody's like, oh, this is a special issue. It's like, not until December 4th. As soon as December 4th rolls out, and all it is they're just trying to get rid of 2024 stuff.
Right.
We got this leftover shit here, and we don't really want to melt it for 2025.
Damn, I never thought about it like that, but you're right.
That's all.
You're right.
It's December.
It's literally like, just put
3.5 weeks away from.
Put a fucking star on it. And mark it up $10.
And guess what? Nobody's going to give a shit about those other 350,000 because every dealer in the country's eye is on the ball for 2025. I'm getting box numbers right now for ICG. I'm clearing space, beefing up production for 2025. He goes, I'm not thinking about those privies. And if they come in, they come in. We're going to do them, of course, but they're not going to, because unless, you know, the collector is going to send one or two in on their own, but dealers aren't sending those in at volume because their eye is no longer on that price. That's done. So that's also where it's like, if at least do it a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I think you and I are in dead unison on that one. Absolutely. So
US Mint, I'm sorry.
You persuaded me. No, US Mint, I'm not sorry. You guys suck. You fucked our packaging years ago. I'm still pissed off about that. By the way, everyone go watch my YouTube video on that. But no, I'm not sorry, US Mint. Do better. So, all right. So, well, we got to my pet peeve there. So what are your pet peeves this week? You get the pet peeve segment. My
pet peeve are unrealistic expectations amongst realistic expectations.
Okay.
I tell you, your stuff's going to be turned around in general in 2 weeks, right?
Okay.
So 10 business days, and that includes weekends. So you send me something, it lands on a Monday, and you happen to have access to getting a hold of me, whether it's through Whatnot, email, my phone, whatever it is.
Some people get a hold of you by texting the seller they know on Whatnot and saying, hey, can you talk to Austin for me? And I'm like,
and it's like, okay, when their coins shop Monday. What day is it? Wednesday. Buddy, like, let me get into like it's the way the coins come in is they go to the front desk, or they get opened in shipping. They get allotted to the front. They have to get written up into the system. They have to then get put in order, stickered, labeled, and then they go in the back and get put in the rotation within the vault. And then they get pulled from the vault. They get first based by my first base grader, finalized by me. Then they go into production, get slabbed, get labeled, and then they go into boxes. And then they come back into the grade room for quality control to check that the grade matches the coin, the date matches the coin, everything matches. And then they can go off to get shipped. And I'm already pushing it at 2 weeks for that, for the most part. And I do that because I want coins in people's hands quickly. It was the first thing that myself and the owner of ICG came to terms on in like the first meeting we had, is let's cut this 6-month turnaround time shit out and let's really blow it out of the water. And we stick to that. And some people, it's easy enough. We're like, hey, this is going to take a little longer because you want Overton numbers or Sheldon numbers or the different variety attributions that take time to look up. And everybody seems to sort of understand that. It's the generic, I sent you in my 10 Morgan dollars. Where are my 10 Morgan dollars? They're currently being opened and shipping. So, and then the other portion of it is this, and this is a true story. And this has just been irking me all week because it doesn't just involve me. Look, you can come and shit on my front door, and I'm just going to say that's fine. That's Wednesday.
I do know where you live. So.
but at the end of it, it's like if I'm the one in charge of the domicile and I walk outside and see a giant, well, I got to clean it up. It is what it is. But if I send my son out and he's just like, oh man, do I got to take care of this? And then he comes and asks me. So this guy sends in, it's just a collector. It's an older gentleman, let's call it. And usually the more curmudgeon-y people are,
Yeah.
of the elder statesman type, but he sends in a $10 Indian to me. He unfortunately, it was a 1915 10 Indian gold piece, 1 coin order. That was it, and it was counterfeit. It was fake, and it was a good 1970 style counterfeit, but very common, pretty easy to spot once you've seen a ton of them. But they're really, really well done because they're supposed to be really well done.
Right.
Well, gets sent out counterfeit, and I do what I think is an appropriate thing of, you know what? We at ICG offer a counterfeit holdering service where we will holder your counterfeit coin and put it in a yellow caution tape style label. And on the back of it, it says this is for educational purposes. And I think, well, I know I can feel it in the order. I'm like, this is going to bum this guy out. So I call him and say, hey, coin's counterfeit, this is, and first thing he says is, well, what do you mean? Well, it's not real. Like, what do you mean it's not real? I tested it. I took it to a local shop. They said it was gold. They go, no, yeah, it's gold. Like, well, then it's real. No. Yes, it's gold. The two things can be true at the same time. Yes, it is real gold. It's a, for lack of a better phrase, it's a Chinese counterfeit. They got very, very good at it. They're getting better at it. Really good at it. I was like, well, there's a lot of diagnostics to these that are pretty simple to the eye. I've been doing this for 16 years. I explained to him, and he goes, oh, well, I bought it from a really reputable dealer. It was this person online. He just bought it online, a large, huge conglomerate who doesn't have, that's what people don't understand is just because you're buying your local shop, they may pimp themselves as these numismatic genius grader types, but really they're owners of a business and a storefront at the end of the day. It's not diminishing that. There's tons of great numismatists, tons of graders I would kill to have. They just make too much money buying and selling. But for the most part, your local up the road at the strip mall coin shop isn't exactly going to have all of the answers, especially on very specific details.
Right. Or it could be very hit or miss. They could know a whole lot about Lincoln cents and not much about what another particular type coin, right?
This is not shitting on the large conglomerate or the local coin shop. Because this guy bought it from it wasn't Atmix, but let's use Atmix. They put their stuff into this is a 10 Indian. It's brilliant uncirculated. It's not worth sending off to grading for this reason. It goes into bin BA-10. Put it in the bin. That's it. And when you buy it, they pull from the bin and they send it off to you. That's essentially the type of place he bought this from.
Right.
He says, well, I had them with the Signia test or whatever. Test is gold. And I was like, yes, no, it is gold, but it's counterfeit. Well, how do you know? I said, I know this answer isn't the greatest, but I've seen quite a lot. I've seen thousands of this data alone, but I also know the diagnostics. And I try. I was like, hey, there's some spikes coming off the rim here at 11 o'clock. There's a little struck through piece, and I explained to him how those arrive there. Basically, when they're transferring the dies over to steal them to make counterfeits. The thing is, when they transfer the dies from a real coin, what they're also transferring is all the hits and dings on that surface of the coin. So all those hits and dings that you have a coin here and there's a hit in the right field. That hit in the right field is going to transfer to every single one of them. And when you see the same repeater over and over and over again on a coin,
so you're saying they're taking a coin and making a die with the coin.
With a real coin.
Okay.
So that's how they do it.
Okay, so unless they have a perfect MS-70 version of that coin,
which don't exist.
That's right. Right.
So
then
they're transferring everything about that coin. So when you see the same thing over and over and over again, and you can match it up, and there's a huge database we have internally for stuff like that. And we can get into people like, well, the public should be aware. No. You guys don't get all the hard work that goes into all this. But also the color's a little off, the sheen's a little off. It's a little it's a little mushy, we like to call it. Like, it's just not struck perfectly.
And the public can be aware. You can download the ANA books for free.
That's right.
And maybe they don't know everything but they're
even
surely a hell of a good start.
And if you've read some of those, I sent those over.
Yeah.
Told you to
Yeah.
They talk about spikes coming off the rim in those. There's stock edges on Saints. There's tons of different things that you can learn from that. But you also don't want to get into the everything's counterfeit all of a sudden, that fear-based thing. But this guy, I explained it to him and he says, okay, well, you know what? all right, well, I was like, look, man, if you bought it from the place that you're telling me you bought it from, I guarantee if you call them and just say, hey, can I send this back because it came back counterfeit, I bought it from you, here's my receipt, I can guarantee you they'll send you a new one. Guarantee you. Okay, would you mind doing me a favor and at least putting in a little quick email printout blurb just stating, for not something we do, not something I have to do at all. But for this guy, I just typed up like, hey, customer so-and-so, this is Austin. Unfortunately, as we spoke on the phone, this coin's counterfeit due to my 16 years of experience and looking at it. I do apologize, but contact dealer blank and let them know what the issue is. Hope you have a great rest of your week and can't wait to do more business with you. That was all it said. Folded it up, stuck it in there. All good. Calls back the next week. I'm still unhappy with this because he didn't give me any gold readings. I don't know how you can call something counterfeit without gold readings, and I need exactly what your Sigmia's whatever says.
Oh, the Sigma Metalytics, yeah.
And just like, and this is to the front customer service. So they're calling me like, what do I say? It's like, hang up the phone. Like, well, we can't do that. It's like, well, you just need to tell him he has all the information. He has more than the information we're supposed to give. Send the coin off. They said, oh, well, he did. And they said they would replace it. But he's still, his ego now, I realize, has been hurt.
Right.
He's been hurt. He thinks, I don't know what he thinks.
Right.
Fast forward to another week. I'm in Oklahoma with my son. Last week, this happened. So I'm in Oklahoma. I'm literally finished singing him happy birthday. I get a missed call from work, and it's like 8 o'clock at night. I go, what the heck is it? I'll call back tomorrow. Call back the next day. Well, this guy has been leaving voicemails every day with his lawyer's information, with that he's suing us, and that we're horrible people for calling his nice coin that he was so proud of. And then you quickly realize, oh, I don't think you bought this coin from this place. I think more than likely this has been called counterfeit before. You sent it to us hoping to get the second or third or whatever opinion, and it's coming back again. And now it's to the point where, well, where's the easiest finger to point? It's basically, where do I point my anger? And that's what I'm dealing with a lot lately, is people getting frustrated and upset that their coins aren't coming back to them the way. No, even for the last 15 years, I haven't had to hear any of this crap. So it's been happening the entire time.
Right,
I've just been whistling away at my desk.
You've just been the guy looking at coins all day.
Just all day, and realizing that this is all going on. It's like, people need to understand that we are not out to hurt people's feelings. That in fact, I hate giving bad news. I really hate it. The worst thing I've ever had to do was, at 21, was call just a collector, a woman who had spent, I think, $100,000 on a Morgan set, and they were all counterfeit. The whole thing was bad. I mean, she had the 95P in there, 93S that was like, but they looked like chocolate. Basically, some guy got one over on her back, like it brought her to her in like a metal briefcase type of thing, and she bought and paid. And that was one of the worst days in coins I've had. So ever since then, I've always gone out of my way to over-explain. And when you sometimes do the right things in coins, it bites you in the ass this way. Because I went out of my way to help this guy, he now realizes there's an easier target to point a finger at.
Right.
Whereas, if he did, which more than likely he did send it to PNN, they didn't tell him, but they're not answering. They're not like,
Well, the fact that you get a phone call from the president of ICG when your coin's fake is pretty amazing.
It was just, I could feel it in the order, and I was right. I just didn't know how right I was.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, man,
Maybe next time you get the feeling, you just don't pick up the phone.
The problem is 9.5 out of 10 times, you end up getting more coins submitted to you.
Right.
I had it probably 2 weeks. I've had it a few times since I've been at ICG, and ultimately it actually builds really good business relationships with just the collector base, because that is who I'm trying to facilitate at the end of the day. As much as most of my volume comes from your big boy name dealers and stuff, I would hope one day, or maybe one day, I can have a time where it's mostly collector coins coming in, because the market has just decided ICG is the end all be all. That's the goal.
Right.
So you try to like, this guy was on one and just could not, and you realize you've just injured his ego, and he can't delineate between somebody just out there trying to help and educate. But it's the old, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
No, and you can't please all the people all the time. No. There's always going to be.
But it is that the expectations of, I want it now. And it's like, look, I understand as a collector, especially on the Whatnot platform, I'm holding your prized possessions. You're putting it in the mail. The scariest thing you can possibly do. First piece of advice is put down the insured value. Insure your packages. Because if it gets lost in the mail, you can bitch, moan, and complain to me all day long. But I'm not the U.S. Postal Service. I'm not FedEx. I'm not UPS.
Right.
I didn't lose your package. You were sending it to me. You were entrusted, but along the way, something got lost. We've had that a few times. And my biggest thing is, if you want to send me a nasty email or a nasty message, I can take that. It's when it gets to my customer service people, it ruins their day. Like, people forget that there's another person on the other end of that phone. It ruins their day. And they are, at ICG, they are trained to be kind and trained to answer the phone. We are not, I do not train them.
They need to take the Marteen stacking Whatnot training on being on kindness.
Fuck you.
That's my complaints to her, right? That's it. Yeah. Fuck you, fuck your mom, fuck your dad. That's it.
Unfortunately, we are going to get there.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is like, you can only tell people, just don't forget to be kind, so many times. I came into, oh my God, it was earlier today. Mia, she is incredible on the phones. Speaks two different languages on the phone, and she's just this beautiful personality. But I look back and I go, hey Mia, can I? And I just see this.
Yeah.
And just rubbing her head. Well, and I was like, what's up? And she goes, honestly, can we just get somebody else to answer the phones for the afternoon?
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, we can. And she literally, she came to me at the end of the day. She goes, hey, I'm all good. I just want you to know I'm all right. Like, she got cussed out on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, not nicely either. And she wanted to go home. Like, yeah.
I don't blame her. I cannot fathom cussing someone out over some fucking coins I submitted.
It's just like
I don't know what would have to, and you know, I have to say this because I am a coin dealer. I'm admitting it now. Like, the biggest complaint, I'm sorry, old man, you're the worst. And like, not every old man, but it always seems to me the same time, kind of like the one that you just had, they do not give up because I think they have nothing better to do. They're retired. There's no work. You know,
more than likely, and this is not just smart, but it's like more than likely no family.
Right.
More than likely the kids aren't. These are their children. These
are
their animals.
Right.
And that's not lost on me. That's why you go out of your way to make the phone call.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It's like,
no, but they don't give up. They're like Spartans with a fucking raccoon under their vest. They'll let that thing tear their nuts off before.
If they could point that in a direction.
Yeah, send that to North Korea. Like, I don't know. I meant to edit that out, but no, and I shouldn't.
The opinions of Martin in no way, shape, or form that of ICD or its.
Yeah, no, and I don't mean, and I shouldn't generalize, but I've just seen it too on the service side when I can always tell when it's an older man, and they're so good at complaining.
We need to save this for another episode, but we should talk about how to get more women into coins, because actually the ones that are in, as much as I just made a lot of jokes, and they were jokes, but like really they're not just the most, but they're also kind of the most, like the one that happened today where I was just saying, got cussed out. The ultimate resolution to this was, the guy said he sent in 20 coins and only 19 show up, and we open everything under cameras.
Right.
As soon as they come in, there's 19 coins there. And the guy is just, you stole my coin, you're hiding, you're stealing my guess what? Forgot to put it in the package. Yeah. So and that's every single, it's like they just don't think that we're, I say, do you not think we're a legitimate business? Do you think we're just running this?
Well, and not only that, you're I don't know, you guys are like a bank in that way, in the way you audit what comes in and what goes out. In fact, I remember I gave you a box of random shit. And I didn't fill out the form. You're so great. You took it. And when it came back, there were these 2 little graded gold pieces. I said, I don't think I gave you that. And you're like, no, you did. It was in the box. And I'm like, I don't even know what this is.
Your wife is really hot.
Thank you. She's way hotter than me. Yes. Tell everyone, like,
how did you meet her?
There was a time when I had a lot less here. And, they were, when the kids were younger, we met. Her daughter, who's my daughter now, went to school with
Bucky's sweatshirt.
No, Ari. So my oldest is, I adopted her. She was Tamara's daughter before we got married. Yeah, and they went to school with. She went to school with my nieces.
Wait, and are those two your two together with her?
No, with my ex. So it's kind of
So
weird.
you two don't have one.
We don't have any. Yeah. Well, technically, because I adopted Ari. So,
Well,
but
of
it's
course,
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
genetically speaking, yeah, very very mixed lot
I
here.
wonder what this would look like. Just imagining that your
Yeah, I don't know.
beard.
They'd be hot if they didn't get my beard or any other traits of
They got
mine.
your ass,
So
though.
that's true. I got a nice big old ass.
Keep that.
Um,
All
all right, so let's go to should I grade it? Okay. So should I grade it? This week's coin.
This
Oh,
is something. This is something whether we're gonna do this specifically every week, and we're gonna pick a different either coin or series to talk about.
sure,
And
absolutely.
this one is
The American Silver Eagle. Should I
kind of
grade it?
touched on a little.
Should I grade it? Now, bear in mind, I am asking the guy who's the president of the company that invented grading the American Silver Eagle.
True. That is true.
So I'm not expecting a no here.
No. But let's and we'll circle back to should I grade it? Well, if you buy that damn Privy Silver Eagle, you have to. No, you
Yes.
have to. You have to grade that coin for it to have any value whatsoever.
Right.
And you have to in a time frame that you're up against the wall because right now you want it to be in that first to 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
If that coin gets to me before December 4th, it's a part of that 50,000 thing. So you're talking about hundreds of dollars, a couple hundred, but left on the table because the moment that does, so yeah, like should you grade it? Yes.
So if that coin gets you before December 4th, before the general release, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean you give it that designation on the label, first 50,000 or first strike or
First 50, what is it again? One of 50,000, something.
yeah, I the ones I've seen
50,000
are the first 50,000. Yeah, one of the first 50,000. How do they come up with that? I know first strike, there's the rule is like within 2 weeks,
Within 30 days.
within 30 days. Okay.
First strike, first strike, early release, and for ICG we have initial release.
Okay.
We can use any verbiage that the mint uses itself because that's sort of like public domain. So any type of verbiage they use, all the services can kind of take and pull and whatever.
Right.
So like things like mint sealed box or strapped or whatever. But first strike, early release, those are PCGS and NGC copywritten terms. So when ICG decided to jump on the band, because there's like first strike and then there's early release, which early release is the first 2 weeks. So
Okay.
that's like sort of really only dealers can kind of get that.
Right.
It's, kind of how you can get it quick, but
Right.
it's still it's good for them.
Now, okay. Speaking of that, are those, not to track back to our main topic, but are those considered designations like full bell line? It's a designation, but it's not, it's more of a rarity or a timing
I call it
designation. Okay.
an added value.
Okay.
It's an added value to the coin.
Right.
So it's first. We all want to be first in line. That's why people
Right.
camp out for concert tickets and shit.
Right.
I think that's more like feeding the American spirit more
Right.
than anything else. It's like
Right.
I was first to the table.
Right.
None of this. None of this.
Right.
What you send in September bullshit. No, this
Right.
was they released January 1st.
Right.
And I got them in the window by January 30th to get this. I
Right.
bought the coin, sent it in. I did my part. I did the work that I needed to do to get this. You worked for it, really. And that
Right.
really is kind of how it is. You got it early, you sent it in quick, you got it back, it got that designation.
Okay.
The only thing that really that bothers me is when people are like, I don't want that on there. Just do it normal.
Right.
Is when collectors are like, and it probably matches the rest of their set, but that always makes me laugh. But yeah, so we have initial release, but should I grade it? I'm very much into Silver Eagles, since we're just talking about those right now.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something that hit me sort of like let's call this this is a very stoner thought of, there's a guy at PCGS who was one of the founders in the 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
and he is in his 80s.
Okay.
Now, think about that. A grader in his
Right.
He is this. So when he started grading coins, he spent Mercury dimes, is what I'm getting, right? Like
Right. He was.
No, but like think about it. Coins that can bring at times 100, like 16Ds in high grade or 45p with full bands can bring tens of thousands of dollars. He could have just gone to the bank and gotten a roll.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, basically, you've got Silver Eagles are going to be our Morgan dollars because they're not making any more 86s, 87s, 88s, whatever. They do come 69 and 70, but because all of them, not all of them, but like for the most part, the 70s are out there. There's going to be a day in my grading career where I get tubes and tubes and tubes of Silver Eagles min grade 64. And I'm just putting them in stacks like I do my Morgan dollars. That's kind of crazy. I graded a Silver Eagle last week, like 63, and it just went out the door.
What year was it?
I don't know. This was like a 97, I think, or 96. Okay. It was like a
okay, because it's semi-key, right?
But think about how you just did that. Like, look at how you just reacted. You went, oh, okay, well, it was a 96.
Yes,
Think about that, though. I'm going to get tubes of these certain dates for minimum grades that are going to basically essentially be like Morgan dollars. So, yeah, great Silver Eagles. Like, let's ramp that up.
Okay. Should you be grading your 2024, your 2025 Silver Eagles?
Yeah, because they're going to facilitate a set. That's part of the. I think that really does help, like actually bring collecting back to the forefront of where coins are supposed to be. Silver Eagles are the collectible coin. It's Morgan dollars, Silver Eagles, and if you're rich, it's Saints.
Right.
That's kind of the big three as far as I'm concerned. And there's a little bit of like leeway between those two. But yeah, like you should grade your Silver Eagles. Because also the vast majority of them aren't going to be graded because they're not going to be graded 70. The 9 market.
Okay. So that's another interesting point. And now I agree 100% when you're talking about semi keys. Look, even anything to me before 2000, I think is very, if it looks like you're getting a decent grade, send it, right?
Well, think 80, 2008 reverse 07.
Right.
And then there's value there. 2001, it's a great year. Very expensive year.
That's true. And there are definitely outliers, right? And so in the modern years, but
give them a credit if they're playing dealer and coin grader and coin whatever. Who's to say in 2027 they only release 500,000 of them?
Right.
Holy shit! All of a sudden we got a little vintage on our hands. It's up to them.
Right.
And once that year's over, that year's over.
Right. You can pull those vintage stats too, which you should, and look and see what's rare, what's not.
And also if they're dog shit, like these privies are, not for nothing. I may not like them, but there's going to be, I'm going to get shitloads of these coming in 470 only just to get maybe 1 out of 100.
Right. So
like those 21D commemorative Morgan dollars. You know, those 2021 Ds.
Oh,
the CC, and the Ds were just, for whatever reason, really bad. And I still think they trade for like $600 and 70 today.
Right.
So it's stuff like that so that's a great example. You don't know what that year brings, so buy the coin and send it in.
Well, yeah, and even like what were those, the 96, were they 90s? The 2016 Phillies. Yeah. Silver Eagles that you did for me. Mm-hmm. I had no idea how rare that coin was.
And guess what? You won't. So yeah, buy the coins. If you're going to buy it already.
But right. Well, but I guess so the second part of that to me is, so let's just assume, because when I think of Silver Eagles today, you know, when I say should I grade Eagles, I'm usually thinking of the tube I just bought, right? Mm-hmm. Which is usually the current year. So I've got these 2025 Eagles, and now they're a little more common. You know, when I submit those, am I saying, hey, just 70s? Do I take some 69s? You know, do I grade every tube that I bring in?
No.
Is it just like, hey, I want a set, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's where the dealer's choice.
Right.
Dealer's choice at that point. It's like, if you're a dealer at volume, you need 69s to facilitate that segment of the market that's hopefully coming to your website. If you're a vest pocket, smaller guy, still making good money, but you're making good money because you're careful, you probably 70 only.
Right.
And not for nothing, if you're just a collector sending the one in that you bought that year because you just need the one graded, you don't want to put a minimum to it. But if you buy a tube of them, put 70 only. Sure.
Right. Well, and And that's who I'm asking the question for, is the collector, right? Because the dealer's part I kind of get.
Yeah.
It's just more, when there was a time before I became a dealer, I never would have bought a graded. In fact, a lot of the coin shops I go into, the hardcore bullion shops, they'll sell you at least 69s, common date 69 Eagles for just about the same price as bullion over the counter
but
Eagles.
Guess what? Those would be the ones I'd be buying though. If I'm just going
Right.
to stack,
Right.
I may not give a shit about graded coins. However, there's this protective piece of plastic around it that
Right.
is like, what, an extra buck a coin?
No, and that's what I would usually, right.
I'm probably going to lean more into that as just somebody who's stacking something.
Right.
But this, and we've talked about this in the past, I've said it on your channel, and I'm going to try and say it here, and maybe we can end on this perfectly, is, and I'm going to say this a lot. Hopefully every episode I have an opportunity to say this. What you find valuable is what that's supposed to be and is the most important thing. The problem with coins is it's Twitter. It's Twitter now. So you're now unfortunately paying attention to what everybody else is doing instead of just doing what's going to make you happiest.
Yes.
There are people that have Silver Eagles and 67 holders, and it's their favorite coin. And who's to tell that person that it's anything less than their favorite coin?
Right.
Hey, that's your favorite coin? Why is it your favorite coin? That's awesome. Let's talk about it.
Right.
It should not be, it's not even a 69, and those are shit. Like, that's unfortunately the rhetoric around that. As a collector, submit and grade what's important to you, period.
Right.
If at ICG, you can get your coins graded in economy tier for $15, even if it's a copper round. And that's why I got all that flack for grading copper rounds. That's gone.
I got some flack for my Trump copper rounds.
When was the last time you've heard it?
But I gave them the Marteen stacking customer service. Go fuck yourself.
True. But you never heard, because now people are used to it. Now people are used to seeing them out there.
Yeah.
But the thing that people, it's like, those are 5 people that go, why are you doing that? That's stupid.
Right.
That's lame. It's like, well, that's your opinion.
Yeah, don't buy it.
But I've just graded 20,000 of them in the last month.
Right.
And they're gone. And that means that at minimum 20,000 people wanted that bad enough to have it graded. So if you love it and it's numismatically appropriate, I'll grade it for you.
Right.
That's kind of the thing. Like, just grade what makes you happy.
No, I agree. And I think that's the best thing to say. And because I also remember, like, my little name channel, whatever, Marteen is the stacking machine, that came from stacking bullion.
Yeah.
And so I really did enjoy getting my first graded Eagle I bought on Whatnot, as I was kind of getting into selling on Whatnot.
But what was the difference between you? Do you remember? And you probably don't, and that's okay. But I'd be curious to see what other people say. It's like, all right, the difference between buying your first graded Silver Eagle compared to submitting and getting back your first graded Silver Eagle. Bought it raw, submitted, got it back.
Okay. You're not, I don't know. So the first coins I bought raw and submitted were PCGS 2020.
I was there.
Did you grade those fucking my buffaloes? 2020 proof gold buffaloes, 1 ounces. I sent 3 of them.
Wait, what service did you submit them through?
I submitted them through the economy, probably, because I had the free vouchers. You motherfucker. I wanted to, no, I shouldn't say it. Like, this is another example. Like, I wish I still, honestly, now I really wish I still had them. Would you have remembered them if you saw them? Okay. Yeah, probably not. Because that just would have been really cool. I mean, not like I don't have 6,000 coins that you've graded sitting up there, but yeah. But they weren't Silver Eagles, right? They were the gold buffaloes. The funny part about that is, yeah, where I got 2 69s and a 70, and I just,
wait, that's a great experience though.
I wanted 2 70s and a 69, and yeah, but I understand. That's why I pulled back when I started cursing, because of what you said earlier. I get it, right? Yeah. I was a much newer collector at the time. It was a fun experience, and I have to say this, I love ICG. I submit stuff to PCGS from time to time. The bulk of my stuff goes through you.
But you should too.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say was cool, because you talked about people not knowing where things are. They do have that cool thing on their website where it shows you the stage that it's in.
Oh,
so
grading stage?
Yeah, there's a grading stage that'll show you that it's in. And then the thing I don't like is you can pre-see the grades before you get the coins. Like you can click a button, it'll say, do you want to see the grades?
Oh, wow.
You can spoil the surprise, which I always do.
That's really just, that's supposed to just facilitate dealers, because ultimately you want them to be able to put the stuff up for sale.
Right.
Yeah. How do you not look? How do you not peek?
Yeah.
I mean, you see a corner of the present already ripped.
Right. Yeah.
But that's,
and so like, honestly, if I'm being honest about the first time I submitted any coins, it was very nerve-wracking for me. Because
sending it in the mail, filling out the paperwork.
I just spent almost $8,000 on those coins. You know, gold was a little cheaper then, but there's a lot of big premium on proofs from the US Mint. And then PCGS, the packaging guy, this is why I love you so much. You're like, hey, just leave it in a holder. Mm-hmm. You know, I was worried that I was going to fuck the coin up taking those capsules for those buffaloes are like Fort Knox for those gold buffaloes.
You're supposed to.
No, PCGS says they tell you to take them out, and I've got to put them in Mylar flips. Really? Yeah. They have a whole guide. You are not allowed to leave stuff. The only thing for PCGS you can leave in the original package is if you're doing bulk grading of bankrolls. If you have, now I would imagine like the bigger guys, if they're sending you monster box, you're doing bulk rating of like tubes or something, you know.
Yeah, but if that's actually there, like hopefully people read the paperwork, because what I would have said to you even back then, if you said, well, I got to take these out, I would have said, well, if you're looking for certain designations, sometimes they have to be submitted in the packaging, sealed shut to get certain designations.
You know, it's interesting. They still gave me first strike on them, even though they were taken out. I think I had to submit the receipt, or no, I think I sent them in within 30 days of the coin being released. So they knew it was a first strike, but yeah, I remember, but you know what?
But you don't have the hand tool to pop the cap.
No, I used a fucking paper clip. It was horrible. The sound from it. I have it on one of my YouTube videos of when I unboxed it, opening the thing. It sounds terrible. Like it was horrible getting that thing open.
I tell you, I've seen somebody do it with a straight blade.
Really? Oh, you cut your damn hand off like I would.
They slice the whole, because the thing popped and they slipped.
And that's a 24 karat gold coin. That's very malleable. Yeah. See, that's what I was worried about.
I'm so sorry. I'm only saying if that's true, just because I haven't seen it. I bet you it is. But like, if that's true, I hate that PC has that, if that is the case, because I tell people, touch less. Once that you get it, touch it all you want once it's behind the plastic.
Yeah.
Let me do that part.
Exactly.
I will make sure that it's, and guess what? If I fuck up on my end, I'm replacing the coin.
Right.
If I'm popping something out and I slip and something, or we had a situation not last week, a couple months ago where poor woman, she in production, she's a rock star, superstar, but she thumbprinted the hell out of this coin. And it was a 95W proof silver eagle in 69. That's a $3,000 mistake. And it was okay, but we learned, we tried to, but this fingerprint, I mean,
was that the one you sent me the picture of?
I'm sure.
There was a gorgeous one.
Oh, no. This was, no. If I say the picture, it was because it had, what had happened is, she printed it and went, oh no, oh God, I'll address this Monday. It sat over the weekend. Oh, and nobody, it was just.
No. The one you sent me was like a 9+ or something. I'm trying to, it was a gorgeous coin. So anyway.
So no, it's like things like that where it's like, but the experience, circling back, but the experience of doing it, I know it can be, but yeah, grade even silver eagles, those gold buffaloes are in the realm of the same thing.
Right. No. Yeah. And I'm laughing when you asked about silver eagles. You want to know, honestly, the first time I submitted silver eagles was when a wholesaler submitted them to you and you sent them back to me. So that was my very first submission. I got 500 silver eagles from you.
With your name.
With my name on them. Yeah. So that was exhilarating. That was exhilarating.
Yeah. That's gotta be fun.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that was one of the most fun days I've ever had when those came back in.
Yeah. So I would absolutely agree. just grade your Silver Eagles if you want to. Definitely, like, don't ask around. Stop asking. I want, if you just in your heart, like, I want to grade these. Let me go ask around if I should. No. Cut it at, I want to grade.
That's true. If you love Silver Eagles and you get a few tubes every year, just send in a tube. Ask if someone sends a tube, said, look, I just want 170. I'm just sending you a tube because I want to make sure there's a 70 in here. You know, or do they have to?
I've never really thought about it. I don't see why I would give a shit.
Right.
If they're paying for
I mean, they have to pay for the shipping and all that. Yeah, which is probably not very economical for you, but yeah.
But at Eagles, I probably only have to look at 2 or 3 of them.
Right. And when you think about, here's the other thing I love about ICG, no annual subscription fee. So now if I go to buy 70s, they're probably about $70 when they come out. You know, maybe a little higher depending on the designations or whatever, or the value, whatever you call it, the first strike, this, that, or the other. Right. But if you go and you buy them for spot plus premium and then you pay ICG $10, you know, you could do a whole tube of them and you're way cheaper. Yeah. So,
well, maybe the next one, what we can cover in the next episode is maybe we can cover how to sort of facilitate your own pre-screen process, maybe getting you set up with your own at-home grading setup.
Absolutely.
Grading setup for under $100.
Yeah. No, that's something that a lot of people have asked about. So episode 3 is going to be
depending on how
episode 2.2. How to be a grader, how to get your own grading set up at home.
I think
awesome.
We'll touch on that. We can circle back to the Silver Eagle topic.
Great.
All right.
Phenomenal. Great. Good week, man. Hope you have a great week going into Silver Eagle season.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, man.
All right.
Yeah.
And